So what's going on YouTube? Alright, so today we're going to be making the molding for the office. And I want to talk a little bit about making molding. And I'm not an expert, I've only done this a few times, but I have done it a few times. That kind of sort of made sense. Anyway, there's a few things you want to think about before you ever get started. This is not one of those that you want to just jump into and go wing it. This is not a wing it thing. You need to think about a few things before you actually get started. First thing I'm going to think about is any other molding that's up there that's going to stay. The molding that's up there now on the doors and windows is 2 1/4 inches wide. If I make my molding anything other than 2 1/4 inches wide, I'm going to have to modify the base mold and the quarter round. I don't want to have to do that. I'm going to draw out a blank cross section 2 1/4 inches wide. Alright, so that's the cross section of the blank for our molding. Now we want to come up with a profile. So the next thing you want to think about is which bits you have. If you don't have a router and a small selection of bits, this is going to be a little more difficult, but you can actually still do it. You can do quite a lot with a table saw. You can do clipped corners. You can do coves. If you just go watch Izzy Swan, or there are a bunch of other guys have done it. Izzy did a bunch of them, but a bunch of other guys have done it too, where you lay the boards out, clamp them down on the top of your table saw, and just raise the bit up slowly. Kyle Toth did waterfront cabinet covers or some crap like that doing that process. It's pretty amazing stuff you can come up with. And there's a calculator on the internet that will tell you the angle and the height of the blade and all that stuff to get the profile you want to get. So you can do it. I've got a router. I've got a small selection of bits. Just a cheap, I got a little cheap $20 set. Some of these bits are in the toolboxes from when I've been using them. And I think one of them's still in the router. You know, this was, I think, $15-$20 for this kit. It might have been 30, but either way, cheap. Just 1/4 inch shank stuff. They're available. Harbor Freight is one option. If you guys are looking to do a lot of this, then I would say spend more money on the bits. But I do this. This is probably the 3rd time I've done this in 10 years. So, alright, so now we want to talk about the design. You got to think about what it's going to look like if you miter it. Because when you come to the top of the window, your molding is going to miter right here. And you need to think about what that's going to look like. The other option, easier option, is to buy or make these things for your corners. And you put those on the corner of your window like this, or door, and then you don't have to miter any of your trim. Then you just cut your trim off 90 degrees. And this is not a horrible look. This is really good for like the really big molding and stuff, fluted moldings, things like that. These that I bought, they're really big for the size of molding that I'm going to be going with. I mean, I could do it, but it's going to look kind of gaudy. So, which I don't know, she might like gaudy. I don't know. We still have options. I'm going to do a round over here. I'll do an OG here. And I'm going to do 2 flutes in the middle. And the way I'll do that, I've got a round over bit with a bearing that will cut this profile. I've got an OG with a bearing that will cut this profile. And I've got a 3/8 core box bit that will do the 2 flutes. So now what we need to think about is the sequence we want to do this in. If I do the 2 outsides first, then doing the flutes is going to be a little bit tricky because I'm going to have much smaller surface area riding against the fence. So I'll take a tester board and I'll do both of these on them, figure out where those cores need to do, where these two need to be for my measurements on the fence, and then I'll run all my boards through on that core box bit and get my flutes cut. Then I'll come back and I'll do the round over and the OG. But before I can do any of that, I'm going to take these boards I bought and I'm going to make blanks. I'm going to cut all those boards down to this size right here. They'll be 3/4 already. I want them all 2 1/4 inches wide. Alright guys, so now we're just going to rip all these boards down to 2 1/4, and then we'll have blanks for all of our molding. Alright guys, so here's the rough stock for the trim for doors and windows. All of these are 3/4 by 2 1/4. I have 4 of them at 8 feet, and I have 10 of them at 6 feet. Just, you know, I'm in a small space. I'm not going to do 16-foot boards. Plus, it's easier to find clearer, shorter boards, but 6 to 8 foot range in the big box stores. So the short boards are going to handle the vertical and horizontal pieces for the windows, and the horizontal pieces for the doors. And the 8-foot pieces will be the vertical pieces for the doors. So our next step is going to be taking one of these shorter pieces and doing both edges, the round over and the OG, so that we can figure out where our coves need to go. We'll start experimenting a little bit on a test piece to see just how deep we want to go for all these cuts. Alright, so here's that. No, that's definitely too much. I want just a hair more reveal right there. I want a little bit more of a shoulder. Alright, so that's good right there. I'm going to slap a straight edge down here so I can see what this height is. Actually, I can push this down so that it's flush with the very tip of that corner of the cutter. So that's where we need to put it when we come back. And we'll shoot for the same height. Alright, so we got the full profile of the round over in here. Shoulder on both sides. We got a shoulder on the top of the OG. And I think with 2 flutes in here will look pretty good. So that's our layout height for these. Is going to be the straight edge. This ruler, not another ruler like it, but this ruler pushed down so that the corner of the cutter is flush with the top of the surface. So now we're going to measure for our flutes. And I just want to take whatever this measurement is right here between the 2 shoulders and cut that into thirds if I can. Yeah. I want each flute to be just under a 1/2 inch from the outside shoulder, right there. So we're going to bring the fence over until our mark is centered on this bit, and then we're going to lock her down. It's starting to look busy. So that's at 23 1/4. So that's where our first cut core 23 1/4. So you never know whether you're going to like it or not till you start cutting it and look at it. So I'm going to make a few changes here. This is just too busy. I think I might change these flutes to just V-grooves, just so it's just a little line detail on there. I'm definitely going to be backing this quarter round off. Take this round over way back so I don't see any shoulders. And I'm okay with the OG looking like it does. So we'll leave the OG alone. I'm going to cut this piece off so I have some fresh to work with. The only other thing I could think of is possibly not doing the OG and just doing a round over here. Do a round over on both sides and just make this symmetric. So I'm going to cut this again and we'll give that a shot and see how that turns out. I think I could take these deeper. What do you think of that?
Oh, it's really pretty.
So you good with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very pretty.
Alright guys, you heard her. Design process is over. So, just to verify that I've got these somewhat symmetric, I'm going to leave this set the way it is. I'll run one cut over, then I'll rotate the board this way, run the other cut. That way I know these are dead center. Because right now they're not. But everything's going to be perfectly symmetric when I'm done. So here's the next key point when you're doing this stuff. Every cut needs to get done to every board before you change anything, or there will be differences. So I will take every piece of that wood and make both cuts with the core box bit on it. Then I will do the bit change, get it set back up, make sure everything's dead on, and then I'll cut everything on the roundovers on the edges. So you do one setup, you cut every board. You make your next setup, you cut every board. And that'll ensure that they're as similar as they'll possibly be able to be. When you're doing this much, it's really hard to go as slow as you need to. And then you get all this fluff when you go too fast. This is what it looks like if you take your time. Almost no sanding. Crap like this is going to cost you a lot of time sanding. And these flutes, they're a pain in the butt to sand, so try to force yourself to take your time. Alright, so I got my test piece here. I want to see what this is going to look like mitered. She's already told me she's alright with the medallions on the corners, but I'm going through all this trouble. I want to look at all my options. So I'm going to go ahead and miter this real quick, the test piece, and see what I think of it. Alright, so this is what it looks like mitered. And honestly, that's really not that bad. Pushed against a medallion is going to look like this. Neither one of them look horrible, to be honest with you. This is going to be it for this video. And next video will be me hanging this stuff. I still got to sand it all up and all that crap. Nobody likes watching sanding, knowing that I know. So, yeah, but there'll be links in the description to the cove calculator for the table saw and links to the other videos I've done where I kind of sort of made molding. I made a molding that went around the floating fireplace mantle. That was just a simple fluted molding, just to make that look like a slab with flutes. And then one of my very first videos, very poor quality on the video, so not that these are much better. So go easy on judging me for the quality of that one, but I'll put a link down there where I did a picture frame where I did a molding and then applied a store-bought molding to it to make it a little more snazzy. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys on the next one. See ya.